They called it the Kingdom of Gold, the Empire of Kings, the Jewel of Africa, and yet most people outside West Africa can't even place it on a map. But before the rise of Europe, before the colonization of Africa, before civilization was stolen and rewritten, there was Mali, an empire so vast it stretched over 500,000 square miles, an empire so rich its ruler caused global inflation just by being generous, and an empire so intellectually profound it rivaled the greatest universities of the Islamic and Christian world alike. Welcome to History and Beyond, where today we resurrect the mighty Mali Empire, a civilization buried under centuries of colonial amnesia and silence. Our journey begins in the 13th century, in a fractured post-Ghanaian world. After the fall of the Ghana Empire, West Africa was in chaos, disunited kingdoms, warring factions, and external threats. But from exile came a boy who would shape destiny, Sundiata Keita. Born unable to walk and cast out by rivals, Sundiata didn't just learn to walk, he learned to lead. Gathering support from clans across the Sahel, he defeated the brutal king Sumanguru Kante in 1235 at the Battle of Kirina, marking the birth of the Mali Empire. Under Sundiata, the empire consolidated power with a centralized government, codified oral law, and developed tax systems that sustained both peasant and nobility. His capital, Niani, became a hub of trade, diplomacy, and griot-preserved legacy. But this was just the prelude. It was under Mansa Musa, the empire's 10th ruler, that Mali ascended into the realm of global legend. In 1324, Musa undertook a pilgrimage to Mecca, Hajj. But it wasn't a quiet spiritual journey. It was the most extravagant display of wealth the medieval world had ever seen. 60,000 people, 12,000 slaves, 100 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of pure gold. He built mosques in every city he passed, donated to the poor, funded schools, gave so much gold in Cairo that it devalued the currency for over a decade. Imagine a king whose generosity disrupted international economies. That was Mansa Musa. But Musa wasn't just a man of gold. He was a man of knowledge. Upon returning from Mecca, he brought with him architects, scholars, and builders. He transformed Timbuktu into one of the world's greatest centers of Islamic learning. The Sankoré University, with its sprawling network of scholars, and over 700,000 manuscripts, rivaled any intellectual institution of the time. While Europe burned witches and chained serfs, Mali's scholars were debating astronomy, medicine, jurisprudence, and metaphysics. While knights in Europe wore chainmail, Mali's leaders studied Arabic grammar, built in mud brick elegance, and preserved knowledge that even Baghdad envied. And yet today, the only African empires we're taught about involve colonial conquest. Why? Because the truth terrifies the narrative. Because if Mali was this advanced before Europe discovered Africa, then the whole justification for slavery and colonization falls apart. Mali was not just a political empire, it was an economic giant. It controlled the Trans-Saharan trade routes, the arteries of medieval Africa. Gold from Mali fueled the economies of North Africa and the Mediterranean. Salt from Tagaza crossed the dunes on camelback. Textiles, leather, ivory, and kola nuts flowed in and out of its borders. Traders from as far as Venice, Cairo, and Mecca documented Mali's markets with awe. Even Ibn Battuta, the famous Moroccan explorer, was stunned by Mali's cleanliness, justice, and prosperity. He remarked that in no land had he seen a safer people, more honest merchants, or more vibrant scholars. But here's the heartbreak. None of this made it into most textbooks, and when Mali is mentioned, it's often as a prelude to colonization. As if its golden age didn't matter. As if its libraries, governments, and mosques were somehow less civilized. But the Mali Empire lasted over 400 years. At its peak, it was home to more than 50 million people. Its territory extended from the Atlantic Ocean deep into the Sahara, and its rulers didn't just conquer, they administered, reformed, educated. Mali's army was one of the most disciplined in the region. Its cities, Timbuktu, Gao, Djenné, were marvels of Sahelian architecture and urban planning. Its people were polyglot, multicultural, and devout in both Islam and traditional African spirituality. The griots' oral historians memorized lineages, laws, proverbs, and passed them down for centuries. These weren't tribes, they were civilizations. But no empire escapes decline. After Musa's death, internal strife, weak successors, and the rise of the Songhai Empire began to eat at Mali's core. By the 15th century, the Tuareg had seized parts of Timbuktu. By the late 16th century, much of Mali had fragmented. But here's the twist. Even in defeat, Mali's intellectual and cultural power endured. Families preserved manuscripts in hidden chambers during colonial invasions. Oral traditions kept Sundiata's epic alive. Architecture remained standing even after being abandoned for centuries. The Great Mosque of Djenné, built in the 14th century, still stands today, proof that Malian architecture wasn't primitive. It was engineered to last. And in our modern era, scholars and activists are working to digitize Timbuktu's manuscripts. Institutions like the Ahmed Baba Institute are racing against time, war, and climate to protect these treasures. Because they are not just scrolls, they are proof. Proof that black civilizations were literate, advanced, and connected to the global world before slavery, before colonization, before racism distorted the truth. So ask yourself, why was Mali erased? Why isn't Mansa Musa celebrated like Caesar or Alexander? Why are our children taught about kings with crowns of iron but not those with crowns of gold? The answer is simple. If Africa's greatness is recognized, then the foundations of racial superiority crumble. The myth of the Dark Continent dissolves. And history becomes inconvenient for those who built empires on African backs. But we're not here to rewrite history. We're here to recover it. At History and Beyond, we do not promote hate. We promote truth. We don't uplift one race over another. We expose the lies that harmed us all. And this story of Mali, it's not black history. It's world history. If this episode moved you, share it. Comment below what surprised you most. Was it the gold caravans? The inflation in Cairo? The libraries in the desert? Subscribe and join us daily at 7 p.m. and 12 a.m. Eastern as we continue unearthing the empires they erased. Because the past isn't dead, it's buried, and we're here to bring it back to life, one truth at a time.